Hi, you're watching Professor Plays, and today I'm doing a tutorial on smelting. I've set up a little demonstration, a few smelting lines here. So at the top, we are smelting stone into stone brick. And this is what I would typically use when I'm playing. I call this a half-size smelting setup. There's 24 stone furnaces. And down here is 48 stone furnaces, again, smelting stone into stone brick. Now, why do I typically use the 24 furnace setup when I'm smelting stone in a game, in the early part of the game? And that's because to create a stone brick, if you press E and go to the crafting menu, under logistics, there's stone brick. And where stone brick for ingredients, it says it requires 2 stone. Now that's different than iron ore and copper ore. Iron ore, copper ore require 1 ore per plate, but stone brick requires 2 stone per stone brick. And you can see the plates under the intermediate products. So you go to the iron plate, it says 1 iron ore, copper plate 1 copper ore. So it takes twice as many stone to make a stone brick. That means if you used a full-size array like I would use for iron or copper, it would consume all of the stone on the input belts. The yellow input belts could not supply enough stone for the smelting line. In fact, you can see it's using all of the stone on this half-size smelter, if you will. This 24 furnace smelter is consuming all of the stone. And it's not producing a full yellow belt of stone brick because there is not enough stone input. Okay, so if you want a full yellow belt of stone brick, you need more input. Now you can do that a couple different ways, but what I've done here is I have a red belt, and in early game you would not do this. Red belt would be too expensive, I think, but I've got a red belt of stone coming in, and it's red belt down through here, and with stone furnaces again, and you can see now it is producing a full yellow belt of stone brick. So anyway, so that's why typically when I'm doing a game, in the early game I use a smelting array like this for stone brick, half-size smelter. This is my typical smelting array to smelt ores, copper or iron. It's 24 furnaces, 48 furnaces, and it's yellow belt. Yellow belt of ore coming in, yellow belt, it's yellow belt, and which is split. I'm putting ore down one side and coal or solid fuel on the other side to fuel the furnaces. And this does produce a full yellow belt of plate, whichever plate it is. And you can see the ore just makes it down to the end on the input belts and goes into the furnaces to get smelted. So that's my full smelting array. Now there's different ways to do this on this end over here. These belts, you probably know, you can put, obviously you can see here, there's 2 sides to each belt. So what I do is I put ore on one side, coal on the other, and feed that into the furnaces. There's other ways you can do it, and how you get coal in there. Typically it's like this with a splitter here and a splitter here, but I like to bring the coal in from either top to bottom or bottom to the top and then feed it out of the next smelting array. You don't need to do it that way. You could bring the coal in on the end here like this, jump across there and then put the coal down in there like that. It's up to you, whatever you want to do. So there's a full yellow belt of smelted ore. Now this can be upgraded. So if you're in the later game, you have more resources now, and you wanted to use red belt. If you upgrade the input ore to red belt, and you upgrade these belts to red, you probably wouldn't need to go all the way down, but I will, just for the sake of the demo here. So red here. Like that. And if you made these steel furnaces instead of stone furnaces, and now this output belt could be a red belt. It doesn't need to be red all the way from about there or so. And now that will produce a full red belt of smelted ore, smelted copper or smelted iron. So it's a red belt of ore coming in. It's a red splitter. It's red belt on the output there, which is feeding ore in. The coal doesn't need to be upgraded. That can still be yellow. But now with the red belt coming in and red belt going down through there and steel furnaces, it will produce a full red belt of smelted ore. So that's the typical smelting setup that I use for ores. Down here is an early smelter I use for steel. Now there's different ways to do steel. This maybe is a little bit, for an early game, maybe a little bit more involved than you want to do. For steel, all you really need to do is get some iron plate that you're smelting and feed that into some furnaces. So you just take your iron plate, smelt it, feed it into some furnaces, and smelt it, and you'll get steel out on the other side. You just have to get fuel in there somehow. But however you do that, however you get fuel in there, take your iron plate, feed it into a furnace, and get some coal in there somehow, and you'll get steel. That's another way to do steel, is to just take iron plate and then smelt it into steel. This is what I came up with, and it's what I use. It uses two stages. It smelts the iron ore into iron plate, and then feeds directly the iron plate into the next furnace to create steel. And again, this can be upgraded just like I did the smelter earlier. These can be upgraded to red belts. These can be upgraded to steel furnaces, and you can double the output of steel. You can see it's very weak. It's very hard in the early game to get a full yellow belt of steel. If you make these red belts of input up here and make these steel furnaces, you'll double the amount of steel, but it's still not a full yellow belt of steel. Anyway, so that's what I use for steel smelting. And all these blueprints are available on ProfessorPlays.com. And if you have electric furnaces, you can use electric furnaces for smelting. So here's an example of electric furnaces. There's a red belt of ore coming in, and it's a red splitter, and then these are yellow belts. You don't need to split the belt. You don't need coal and ore. It's just the ore. So with a yellow belt, a full yellow belt of ore, and the electric furnaces like this, you can produce a full red belt of smelted ore, either iron or copper. Electric furnaces, in addition to using electricity, they don't need a fuel source other than electricity. They also have room for modules, so you could put speed modules in there. Although here it's already a full red belt, but maybe you want to make a blue belt down through there. You can put speed modules in the furnaces, or you can put productivity modules if you don't have enough ore coming in to keep the furnaces running. Or you could put beacons. Electric furnaces can be influenced by beacons, so you put beacons down through there with speed modules in them, and you make the furnaces faster. So you could put beacons there to make them faster, put productivity modules in here to make them more productive, and you could put blue belt down through here and get more smelted goods that way. So that's electric furnaces. That's kind of like the traditional split the ore on each side and feed it in, and then the output into the center. You can also do something like this. Feed the ore to be smelted down the center on one red belt, and then pick it up and put it into the furnaces and put the output plate on the other belt. So it's the same idea, same number of furnaces. It's just instead of splitting and having the ore fed in from the outside, it's just two red belts going down the center. It makes it a little bit narrower, this versus this, just a little bit narrow if you're trying to fit something into a tight space, or you just want your base to be smaller. You could do something like that. Again, all these prints are on my website. And then here's electric furnaces making steel. Smelt iron ore into plate, and then that's fed directly into another furnace, and that's making steel. And you can see it's putting steel on the output belt. And again, it's not a full yellow belt. If you put modules in here, you could make this create a full yellow belt of steel. I mean, you would need more ore, but you could do that with electric furnaces. And then here's another idea for smelting. You can use bots, and you can put electric furnaces with beacons around them. So this furnace is very fast now because it's being influenced by all these beacons. If you look at this window on the right, if I hover over this furnace right here, you can see the crafting speed is plus 600%. So it's quite a bit faster. This is also a good place for fast bots. Obviously the bots are doing the transfer of materials, so fast bots make this work even better. But here's an example of using bots for smelting with beacons around the furnaces. And again, you can put modules in the furnaces as well, and as well as beacons. And I've got the same idea up here, but it's making steel. You just have 2 electric furnaces inside the beacons, and one furnace is smelting the iron plate, and it's outputting the iron plate with this inserter onto the ground, and this inserter picks it up and puts it in this furnace, and it's smelting steel. And again, they're surrounded by beacons with bots transferring material. So there's an example of creating steel, smelting steel with beacons and bots. Again, fast bots would be even better. So those are some of my examples of smelting, and all those prints are available on professorplays.com. I'll show you, I'm doing the playthrough with this tutorial series, and I'll show you my smelting setup. If you're following along, if you're playing at home on that game, I'm going to continue playing that map as well, and I'll show you what I did with the smelting setup on there in my next video on that series. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please click on that thumbs up. I would appreciate it very much. Take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.